The new family protege was the story's golden boy, the one who swooped in and saved my 3 older sisters, turning them into his personal attack dogs. They funneled the family's resources, our legacy, straight to him. I was the jealous little brother who saw him for the fraud he was, the one who tried to warn them. For that, they destroyed me. My oldest sister, Veronica, the Ice Queen CEO, froze my trust fund and had me thrown out of the Sterling estate. My second sister, Juliana, the gentle-faced doctor, quietly swapped out my heart medication, leaving me to suffocate in my own pain. My third sister, Chloe, the celebrity socialite, disavowed me to the public, then sat back and watched as a rabid fanbase tore me to shreds online. I died a miserable, lonely death. No one even came to claim my body. Now, reborn into this nightmare, I decided to just give up. But the cards fall where they may. Except this time, my sisters could apparently hear my every thought. The last time I saw the 4 of them together, it was in a dingy, run-down apartment that stank of stale grease and despair. I was in a wheelchair, my clothes stained, my body broken. Leo Vance, however, was dressed in a high-end custom suit he couldn't have afforded in 1,000 lifetimes, surrounded by my 3 sisters like a king holding court. He glanced at me, a smug smirk playing on his lips. You know, for old time's sake, I'll make you a deal. Apologize to me right now. Call me your brother-in-law, and I'll forgive you. I'll even convince them to let you come back to the Sterling estate. What do you say? Brother-in-law? Him? The man who orchestrated the car crash that left me disfigured and crippled? The parasite who'd wormed his way into our family only to bleed it dry? He had to be joking, but no one had ever believed me. They all thought I was just a spoiled brat, jealous that Leo had stolen my sister's affection. I clenched my jaw and spat at him. You wish. I'd rather die than call you that. One day, everyone will see you for the snake you are. A sharp slap cut me off. The force of it rattled my teeth, and my ears rang. I struggled to focus, my vision swimming, and saw Veronica's cold, impassive face. She was frowning, looking at me like I was a piece of trash she just scraped off her shoe. Ethan, if you can't control that mouth of yours, I have no problem shutting it for you. Permanently. I cradled my stinging cheek, my voice a broken whisper. Ronnie, don't call me that, she snapped. You stopped being our brother the day you tried to frame Leo. Her words were knives, twisting in a heart that was already bleeding out. The light in my eyes dimmed. I tried to say something, anything, but my throat was a desert. The familiar ache in my chest started again, a tight, crushing pressure. I clutched my shirt, gasping. My meds. Juliana, who'd sworn off smoking years ago, had picked up the habit again, all for Leo. She stepped forward, the cherry of her cigarette glowing in the gloom. She pressed the burning tip into the back of my hand. I cried out, a strangled, pathetic sound, but she just pointed at my chest with a contemptuous sneer. Ethan, maybe that congenital heart defect of yours is just karma. For a heart as black as yours, I'm starting to think treatment is a waste of time. The agony sent me tumbling out of my wheelchair. I was suffocating. Chloe crouched down, her perfectly sculpted face wrinkling in distaste as she looked at my emaciated frame. Stop the pity party, Ethan. Did you really think playing the victim would make us forgive you? You really are pathetic. She paused, her voice dripping with venom. And it looks like you still haven't learned your lesson. I knew what she meant. After I'd insulted Leo once, she'd sicked her followers on me. They doxed me, stalked me. One of them had even shoved me out of my wheelchair just to watch me crawl. They left dead rats on my doorstep until my landlord evicted me. Now I was here, in this hovel next to an industrial waste site, in a room with a door that didn't even lock. Without my medication, every breath was a monumental effort. I lay on the filthy floor, a dying fish gasping for air, my body a canvas of scars. As my vision blurred, I tried to recall a single happy memory, but my mind was a blank slate of pain. My sisters turned their backs on my outstretched, pleading hand and walked away. The last thing I heard was one of them muttering, "What a downer." I opened my mouth one last time, but no sound came out. No strength was left. This was my second time through this hell. I had schemed. I had fought. I had tried to be smarter, but I was no match for the universe's chosen one. This world was a story written for him. Leo Vance was the protagonist, destined to tear down the Sterling family, to pave the way for his true love. My sisters were just the villains he would conquer and redeem along the way. They were fated to fall for him, to become his loyal dogs, handing him our entire fortune. When he was supposedly kidnapped, they were meant to literally take a bullet for him. In that timeline, Veronica was crippled, Juliana was blinded, and Chloe ended up in a coma. I had died trying to save them, to expose Leo's endgame. But to them, I was just jealous. And it seemed no matter how many times I was reborn, Leo Vance would always weave a spell, always replace me as the most important person in their lives. I knew that when I opened my eyes again, it would all be starting over. But this time I was just so tired. When I blinked my eyes open, the phantom pains of my death still clinging to me, the grimy hovel was gone. I was in our warm, brightly lit dining room. The golden light of the chandelier gleamed on the elegantly plated food before me. A familiar, cloying voice sounded beside me, laced with faux concern. "Ethan, you're not eating. Is my cooking not to your taste? I'm so sorry. I didn't know you disliked it. Tell me what you want, and I'll make it for you. I'll make anything." My pupils constricted. It was Leo. We were at the beginning. He had already befriended me, already staged a few heroic rescues for my sisters. The whispers had started that he was the Sterling family's good luck charm. He wasn't wearing a staff uniform, but a designer shirt I had given him, his posture so deliberately meek, it was almost arrogant. He looked more like the heir to the Sterling fortune than I did. Right now, his face was a mask of hurt. A grown man, biting his lower lip like a scolded child. "I specifically asked Maria what you liked," he whimpered. "She said seafood was your absolute favorite. Are you not eating it because I'm the one who made it?" He leaned in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Don't worry. I followed her recipe step by step." The performance was in full swing, but I remained silent. Leo started to get anxious. "Ethan, why are you ignoring me? Are you ashamed of me? Because I'm from the wrong side of the tracks? Do you think I'm dirty?" I opened my mouth, but only a few meaningless, strangled sounds came out. I pressed my hand to my throat, trying to force the words out, terrified that if I upset Leo, my 3 adoring sisters would find a new excuse to torture me. But I couldn't form a single coherent sentence. Veronica's gaze flickered between me and Leo, her expression darkening. "Ethan, is that how a Sterling behaves?" she said, her voice sharp. "Leo went to all this trouble. It's a thoughtful gesture. Even if you don't want it, you will eat it." I lowered my eyes, a cold, bitter laugh echoing in the confines of my mind. "These 3 are already completely under a spell. As if I'd dare to dislike anything you do, Leo. You're already the other master of this house, aren't you? I'm just the cripple who gets kicked out to a slum. What right do I have to look down on you? Anyone watching would think Leo was your actual brother, Veronica, the way you defend him. Oh, wait, I forgot. Not your actual brother. Your little brother. Your pet project. And does anyone else remember I'm deathly allergic to shellfish? What does my life just not matter anymore?" A sudden, thick silence fell over the table. The 3 women, who had been smiling and chatting moments before, now wore cold, unreadable expressions. I picked up my fork and began to swallow mouthful after mouthful of the cloying, rich seafood risotto. I fought back the urge to gag, forcing a smile at Leo. Veronica's face, which had been a thundercloud, now looked conflicted. As I quickly finished the plate and pushed my chair back, my face pale, she reached out a hand. "Ethan." Juliana shot her a glare, silencing her. She turned to me, her voice softening into that deceptively gentle tone. "Ethan, are you not feeling well today? Let me take a look at you, okay?" She was a doctor. In my last life, she prescribed my heart medication. And then she was the one who stopped it. She watched me suffer, conveniently forgetting I was once the little brother she cherished. I paused on the staircase, my face hidden in the shadows. No one could see my expression. "It's just an allergic reaction. It won't kill me." I rasped, my voice raw. "I'm tired. Just stop torturing me. Whatever you want, I'll agree to it." Juliana froze, her face paling. I didn't mean to forget you were allergic," she stammered. "You didn't mean to forget? What a pathetic, laughable excuse." I was done playing their games. I turned and walked away without a second glance. It was simple. As soon as Leo showed up, I became the one who wasn't loved. So fine, I'd stop trying. A knock sounded at my bedroom door, pulling me from my chaotic thoughts. It was Leo, of course, his voice thick with that weaponized, heartbreaking sorrow. A series of soft, rhythmic taps, as if he'd stand there all night if I didn't answer. "Ethan, what's wrong? Did I do something to upset you? I'm sorry, please just don't ignore me. We're best friends, aren't we?" His words were dripping with hurt, but another voice, his real voice, echoed in my mind simultaneously. "System, what the hell is wrong with Ethan Sterling today? His little stunts lately aren't in the script. Now all 3 of the female targets think I'm bullying him. I just lost 10 affinity points." A mechanical voice responded. "Rest assured, host. My scans indicate their affinity levels for you are all still above 50. The loss is within acceptable parameters." A chill shot down my spine, cold as ice. I started to tremble, despite the warmth of the room. Those voices. It was happening again. In my last life, after Leo had arranged my car accident, I'd heard them while I was in a coma. I heard them plotting to ruin the Sterling family, to use our name and fortune as a stepping stone. When I woke up, I ran straight to Veronica, desperate to tell her. But no matter what I said, she just looked at me with cold disgust. Leo had emerged from her private study, a place no one else was allowed, looking like the picture of malevolent innocence. Ronnie, maybe Ethan's just not thinking straight right now. He's doing these foolish things, but it's okay. I forgive him. Veronica's expression had hardened with every word of Leo's martyred performance. Ethan, what have you become? She'd hissed at me. First you try to frame Leo with a car accident, and now you're trying to slander him to my face? He stayed by your side the entire time you were in the hospital. He begged me not to blame you. The rest was a blur. I just remember that from that moment on, I was well and truly cast out. It was pouring rain. My small suitcase held only a few changes of clothes. Veronica's face was a mask of stone as she shoved me out the front door. She looked down at me, covered in mud and rain. Ethan Sterling, if you can't accept Leo in this house, then this house will no longer accept you. Without the Sterling name, what do you think you are? The memory made my body shake. What performance was he putting on now? I didn't have to guess. I knew he wasn't alone outside my door. He was always angling to raise someone's affinity score. Well, it didn't matter whose. I was leaving the Sterling family anyway. Knowing I couldn't avoid it, I took a deep breath and opened the door. Leo's hand, raised to knock again, froze in midair. He recovered quickly, reaching to grab my arm, but I sidestepped him. Ethan, he whined, dragging out my name while his eyes darted to Chloe, who stood behind him. Just talk to me. Tell me what's wrong. Please don't ignore me. He only ever put on this best friend's act when one of my sisters was around. He'd clearly been performing for Chloe this whole time. Chloe was silent for a long moment before finally speaking, her words defending him. She looked at me, her eyes filled with a deep, probing concern. Ethan, Ronnie and Jules told me what's been going on. Is there some kind of misunderstanding between you and Leo? I thought you two were such good friends. You have no idea, she continued, oblivious. He's cried himself to sleep over you, ignoring him lately. She sighed, her tone dripping with misguided benevolence. I know a really good psychiatrist, Ethan. If there's something you don't want to talk to Ronnie or Jules about, you can tell me. How about I take you to see him tomorrow? So you haven't understood a single thing. Your solution is to send me to a shrink. Right, because in your minds, not liking Leo Vance is a certifiable illness, isn't it? Funny, you weren't so concerned about my mental health when you let your Stan Army dox me and send me death threats. Are you just trying to get back at me for Leo again? What's next, having me committed to a mental hospital? Chloe froze, her expression twisting in confusion. She glanced from Leo to me, then down at her own hands as if she didn't recognize them. Ethan, she began, her voice hesitant, did I do something wrong? Please don't hate me. My face was a mask of wary disbelief. I just shook my head and quickly shut the door in her face. As it clicked shut, I heard a loud thud from the other side, followed by Leo's pained cry. Chloe, warning. Affinity with target Chloe Sterling has decreased by 10. Current affinity is below 50. Host must take measures to raise affinity level immediately. Don't call me that. Chloe's voice was low and dangerous. Those two idiots upstairs might be fooled by you, but I'm not. You'd better have a damn good explanation for all this, or I swear I'll. Her voice faded as they walked away. I couldn't make sense of Chloe's sudden shift, and I didn't want to, seeing how fiercely they defended him already. It was only a matter of time before they repeated the mistakes of my past life. Whatever Leo planned to do to the Sterling family, it had nothing to do with me anymore. Nothing was more important than staying alive. I stopped going back to the estate, which, consequently, meant Leo was there more and more. The Sterling family, always paranoid about scandal, had kept my identity under wraps. The public knew the Sterlings had a son, a reclusive heir with fragile health who'd been coddled his whole life, but no one knew his name. Leo was now happily stepping into that role. He never corrected anyone. When asked, he'd just offer a shy, mysterious smile, which everyone took as confirmation. My university roommate, Kevin, shot me a look, sneering. Hey, Sterling, how come you're not riding with Leo anymore? You were practically glued to that family limo at the beginning of the semester. He smirked. What happened? You two have a falling out? Did he get you banned from the Sterling car service? I ignored him, focusing on my books. His face flushed with anger, as if I'd personally insulted him. He threw down his phone, the screen showing a gray game over screen. Leo won't even talk to you anymore. Who do you think you are, pretending to be so high and mighty after you failed to latch onto the Sterlings? Leo, who was sitting next to him, looked uncomfortable. He tugged on Kevin's sleeve. Kevin, just drop it. It's no secret Ethan doesn't like me. I can't force him to. Kevin crossed his arms, huffing. I just can't stand his holier-than-thou attitude. Weren't you the one desperately trying to kiss up to him before? Now you're acting all high and mighty. He narrowed his eyes, looking at me with malice. We'll see how long you can keep up this act. After delivering their parting shots, they left. Just before the dorm room door closed, Leo glanced back at me, his eyes gleaming with calculation. I heard him ask his system again. System, whose affinity is the highest right now? Currently, the highest is Veronica Sterling. You must act quickly, host. An affinity of 60 is too low. You must raise it to 80 within 1 week, or you'll be unable to predict the upcoming plot events. The upcoming plot. I remember this part. Veronica gets trapped at sea during a business deal. Leo rescues her, and that's how their twisted romance begins. Whatever. What did it have to do with me? I packed my bag for the library. On the way, I was met with stares and whispers. Hey, isn't that him? The guy from the campus gossip thread. Yeah, Ethan Sterling. The one who'll do anything to climb the social ladder. I heard he and Leo had a falling out because he tried to sleep with Leo's sisters and they shot him down. Ugh, that's disgusting. He and Leo seemed so close before. No wonder they don't even look at each other now. Would you still talk to your friend if he tried to hit on your sisters? Guess not. That Ethan Sterling guy has no shame. Wants to be a kept man instead of a decent person. I kept my head down, trying to ignore them, but a clear voice stopped me in my tracks. Leo had somehow appeared near the library. He rushed over, grabbing my wrist in a death grip. Ethan, don't listen to them. It's all a misunderstanding, he said, his voice earnest. They don't believe you, but I do. He said all the right words, but he offered no proof, no defense, just his own subjective feelings. It was a brilliant move. To everyone else, he looked kind and forgiving, while I looked guilty by my silence. The insults from the crowd only grew louder. Leo looked even more hurt and helpless than me, his eyes welling up with tears. Here we go again. Did this guy have any other move besides crying? I looked down, trying to wrench my hand away, but his grip was iron. Suddenly, his system blared an alert in my mind. Warning. Target Chloe Sterling is approaching. Maintain character settings, host. Do not engage in any further actions that may decrease affinity. Leo's expression shifted instantly. His voice cracked with emotion as he started defending me even more loudly. Stop talking about Ethan like that. He's not that kind of person. You've all got it wrong. The way he was acting, anyone would think we were the best of friends. Wow. I tried to seduce your sisters, and you're still defending me. What a saint. I let out a quiet, bitter laugh, my gaze falling on my reddening wrist. Only then did I feel the pain. A sharp voice cut through the crowd. Now what kind of person? Chloe. Even his simple hat and sunglasses, her star power was undeniable. One of her fans in the crowd recognized her instantly. Oh my God, is that Chloe Sterling? It has to be. I bet she's here to back up Leo. I mean, her own brother was totally fooled by a lowlife like Ethan. It's so sweet that Leo is still trying to be his friend. OMG, she's so gorgeous. I should have tried to talk to Leo more. Maybe he could have gotten me an autograph. The noise was a chaotic buzz around me. The main character in this drama, felt completely detached from it all. When is this circus going to end? Isn't Chloe here to defend her precious Leo? What's she waiting for? Come on, push me over, yell at me. Get it over with. Chloe's brow furrowed. Under the shocked and gossiping gazes of the crowd, she walked straight past Leo and handed the box in her hands to me. Her voice was full of affection, an echo of a time I thought was long gone. Ethan, I've been so busy with my schedule. I haven't had time to visit. How are you settling into the dorms? Maybe I should move into the condo near campus for a while. She nudged the box towards me. I brought you strawberry shortcake. It's not from that place you love. The line was too long today, but I'll get it for you next time, okay? The crowd fell silent. Even Leo's face had turned a sickly shade of pale. I pursed my lips, refusing to take the cake. What is this? Another one of your schemes. I get it. You want people at school to think we're close again, so you can set me up. Let them bully me for you. Is that it? You never get tired of the same tricks, do you, Chloe? A student who's also one of your obsessed fans. With that combination, I'd probably be lucky to only get acid thrown in my face this time. The memory of that searing pain, of the endless, intrusive humiliation, made me tremble. See? As soon as Leo Vance is involved, nothing good ever happens to me. Chloe's face turned grim. What are you all talking about? She snapped to the crowd. Ethan's seducing me? The Sterling family has one and only one son, and his name is Ethan Sterling. Leo Vance is an employee at our estate. How did he become the Sterling heir? The system announced a critical drop in Chloe's affinity. Leo finally panicked. He'd counted on Chloe's pity for him, never imagining she would publicly out him as a member of the staff. Now, All the malicious eyes that had been on me were fixed on him. His face went white. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he shouted, "So what if I'm staff? I earn my own money. I'm not like you, born with a silver spoon, getting everything you want just by holding out your hand. But that doesn't give you the right to trample on my dignity. My family might not have money like yours, but that doesn't make me any less of a person." His grandstanding speech stunned everyone into silence, including Chloe, who now looked genuinely guilty. Leo knew when to quit while he was ahead. He ran off, tears streaming down his face. "Congratulations, host. Affinity with target Chloe Sterling has increased by 20, returning to 50. The system duly reported. Once they knew I was the real Sterling heir, everyone's attitude did a bizarre 180. Kevin even posted a public apology on the anonymous forum where he'd started the rumor about me. It was all my fault. I believed Leo's lies and posted that thread. All the vague evidence came directly from him. He used me. I hope Ethan Sterling can find it in his heart to forgive me. I won't fight it if you want to press charges. I am sincerely sorry, Ethan." Suddenly, the tide of hate turned against Leo. People called him a social climbing parasite, the kind of person who bites the hand that feeds them. If he was so proud of being self-reliant, why did he have a meltdown when his job was mentioned? If he didn't care about status, why didn't he correct people when they mistook him for the Sterling heir? I wasn't paying much attention to the online drama. I only knew that Veronica called, her voice as cold and hard as steel, summoning me back to the estate. I knew what it was about. She was going to defend Leo. I dragged my feet, not showing up until dusk. When I arrived, Leo was sitting in the center of the living room, surrounded by my 3 sisters, weeping. The image was a gut punch, a perfect mirror of the last thing I saw before I died. Here we go again. Chloe looked the most conflicted. She started to come towards me, but then hesitated, retreating to stand by Leo's side. "Ethan," Veronica said, her voice heavy with judgment. "You went too far this time." "I went too far? I didn't even do anything. It was Leo who let people think he was me, who encouraged someone else to spread rumors that I was some kind of degenerate groupie. Did I say a single bad word about him? Did I even try to defend myself once? Of course. They probably think this was all some elaborate trap I set for Leo. No one cares that the trauma they inflicted on me in my past life has left me literally unable to speak." Seeing the prosecutorial stances, I stopped at the doorway, not taking another step inside. There was no place for me in this house anymore. Chloe's expression shifted. As if a light bulb had finally gone on, she rushed towards me. "Ethan, you?" Leo's system shrieked in my mind. Warning. Affinity with target Chloe Sterling -20. Current affinity 30. Warning. Affinity with target Juliana Sterling -10. Current affinity 40. Jules and Chloe's affinity scores were dropping like stones. Only Veronica remained impassive, her gaze heavy on me. Seeing his support crumble, Leo grabbed onto Veronica like a drowning man clutching a life raft, his tears flowing freely. "Ronnie, you know me. I'm not that kind of person. I never cared about the money at the estate. I cared about you. You're like my real family. You show me what a real home feels like. Maybe my presence threatened Ethan, and that's why he didn't get to finish." Juliana's voice, cold and sharp, cut him off. "That's why he what? You came to the Sterlings for something other than money? Who do you think would believe that lie? If you really didn't care about money," she continued, "then why didn't you refuse all those limited edition clothes and sports cars Ethan gave you? Where's all that pride and dignity Chloe was talking about then?" Chloe, though a great actress, was a slow thinker. Now that Jules had pointed it out, she finally saw the holes in Leo's story. Her face flushed with anger. "She's right. If you really didn't care, why were you so desperate to ride in the Sterling car with Ethan to school every day? Why didn't you correct everyone when they called you the Sterling heir? You do not care. You care more than anyone." In an instant, the affinity of 2 of his targets had all but vanished. Leo's face was ashen. His only option was to cling to Veronica. She looked at him, her eyes softening slightly as she gently stroked his hair. "Don't be afraid, Leo. As long as you haven't done anything wrong, I will stand by you. So please, don't let me down." Leo leaned in her touch, dependent and relieved. Then, in a corner hidden from everyone else's view, he shot me a triumphant, challenging glare. "So what if Jules and Chloe hate me? Veronica is the one with the real power in this family. As long as I have her, what is there to worry about? I'm going to be the man of this house, one way or another." He was frantically communicating with his system. Since Juliana and Chloe's affinity is shot anyway, I want to use their remaining points to unlock the next plot event related to Veronica. The system seemed hesitant. "Host, are you certain you wish to do this?" Once affinity drops into the negative, it is a completely different concept. These targets will develop a total aversion to you. They're just two side characters, Leo scoffed internally. What do they do to me? Just do it. Give me the plot point. Ding. Plot point successfully unlocked. Current affinity. Juliana, Sterling -10. Chloe, Sterling -20. Plot event unlocked. In 2 weeks, Veronica Sterling will be trapped at sea during a contract signing. Host can prepare in advance to stage a rescue. This will guarantee her complete devotion. A confident, predatory smile spread across Leo's face. I saw right through him, a cold smile touching my own lips. Well, good luck with your little system-assisted rescue, Leo. I'm sure Veronica will be eternally grateful. After all, you'll have saved her life. You could probably even use it as leverage to marry her. She might even say yes. What a blessing for the Sterling family, to welcome a man who wants to destroy them into the fold. A man will marry the oldest sister while still trying to seduce the other two. Well, lucky family. I hope you two are very happy together. Just leave me out of it. I have no desire to be a pawn in your sick games. Veronica looked at me, her expression unreadable, too complex for me to decipher. But I took a wild guess. She was trying to figure out how to kick me out again, just like last time, without looking like the bad guy. So I made it easy for her. I packed my bags and left. I took everything that was mine, even transferred my funds to a new, secure account. I wouldn't be caught helpless again, forced to live in a hovel. Jules and Chloe started visiting me often. I couldn't tell if it was out of guilt or if it was another act. Their eyes were always filled with a pity I didn't want. Jules would sit with me for hours, trying to get me to talk, like teaching a toddler their first words. When I remained silent, she'd leave, dejected. Chloe offered to take me to doctors more times than I could count. I refused every time with a shake of my head. 2 weeks after I moved out, an invitation arrived. It was for a private art exhibition on a yacht, hosted by my favorite painter. Without a second thought, I packed a bag and went. On the yacht, the exhibition space was pathetically small. The event was clearly a playground for the rich and powerful. And there I saw her, Veronica, standing beside her, looking polished and comfortable in a tailored suit, was Leo Vance. He seemed to have been expecting me. A mocking smile played on his lips. He spoke to his system, and the words echoed in my mind. Since this plot point requires a death, why can't it be Ethan Sterling's? If he wasn't born a Sterling, what would he be? Nothing. He might as well serve a purpose and be my stepping stone. Veronica obviously saw me too. She frowned, a flicker of unease in her eyes. She turned to say something to Leo, but when she looked back, I had already vanished into the crowd. Leo's voice followed me, a venomous whisper in my mind. Enjoy it while you can, Ethan. We'll see who has the last laugh. I sighed. He was so brazenly evil, I didn't even know where to start. I knew his intentions were foul, but I hadn't expected his plan to be this audacious. 1 minute, I was admiring a painting. The next, I was being drugged and dragged away. When I woke up, I was bait. I was hanging from a rope off the side of the ship, dangling just a few feet above the churning, black sea. Next to me, in the exact same predicament, was Leo. When he saw I was awake, he immediately squeezed out a few crocodile tears. "Ronnie, Ethan's awake," he cried out. "Save him. Please, save Ethan. My life doesn't matter." A man in a sharp suit standing on the deck above us spoke, his voice grave. "Well, Veronica, have you made your choice? Your brother or your lover? Who do you save?" It was so obvious now. This was all a show. Leo just wanted to use Veronica's choice to crush my spirit. Too bad for him. The moment I died in that filthy apartment, I had shed all my attachments to them. My family was a phantom. I didn't care who she chose. I only cared about whether I would live. Veronica raised her hand. After a long, agonizing pause, she pointed slowly at Leo. You let Leo go," she said, her voice strained. "He's innocent in all this." The man in the suit roared with laughter. "Fantastic, Veronica. I never thought you'd be the type to sacrifice family for a pretty face. I guess I was wrong about you." He waved a hand, and one of his men made a show of loosening Leo's ropes, while another swiftly cut one of the 2 ropes holding me. The second one frayed, groaning under my weight. The suited man's face was dark. "Did you really think I couldn't see your little game? Your reverse psychology? You only said you cared about Leo because you were afraid I'd hurt your precious brother." I almost rolled my eyes. Or maybe, just maybe, she was telling the truth. You think she cares about my life? She's not trying to outsmart you. She's just terrified of putting her darling Leo in any real danger. Whatever. They're both going to get out of this anyway. They'll probably be making out on a lifeboat by sunrise. Instead of making empty threats to me, you should just go ahead and cut Leo. I bet you get to see Veronica cry for real. Veronica's expression shifted through a dozen emotions before she finally broke. Fine. You won the Southside development deal. It's yours. I'll pull out the bidding. Just let him go. Leo, assuming she meant him, looked at her with teary, adoring eyes. Ronnie. The man waved a dismissive hand. Veronica, do you really think you're in any position to negotiate? The Southside deal isn't enough. I also want the Sterling family's recent partnership with the Ramsey Corporation. Even I knew about that deal. It was the confidential partnership that in my last life, Leo had sold to a competitor. Why was this guy demanding it now? The script had clearly changed. Leo hadn't expected this either. The man was going way off script. Leo's plan was to use the Sterling family as a springboard into the world of the elite, not to cripple the company on day one. He coughed pointedly, trying to signal the man, but was met with a threatening slice at his own rope. The man glared at him. What are you coughing for? You're the one who gave me this intel. Having second thoughts now? Leo was completely stunned. He panicked, forgetting he was suspended over the ocean. What are you talking about? I didn't. He tried to signal desperately with his eyes, but he had forgotten the cardinal rule of making a deal with a shark. You need to be a bigger shark, or you just become dessert. This man, born into the power Leo craved, saw him as nothing more than a useful idiot. Leo, with his all-knowing system, had grown arrogant, assuming everything would go according to his perfect plan. A sudden gust of wind rocked the yacht. A massive wave slammed against the hull, and the frayed rope holding me finally snapped. Ronnie, save me! Leo screamed as the sudden lurch terrified him. And then he watched, dumbfounded, as Veronica sprinted across the deck and dove straight for me. He wasn't the only one. My eyes went wide as she wrapped her arms around me in a crushing embrace, using her own body as a shield as we plunged into the frigid water. The impact was brutal. She struggled to keep my head above the surface, searching for debris to cling to, swallowing mouthfuls of salty seawater as she tried to comfort me. Ethan, don't be scared. I've got you. I was stunned, unsure what new performance this was. I could only curse her silently in my mind. Give me a break. Shouldn't you be holding your precious Leo and whispering sweet nothings to him right now? Veronica's body went rigid for a second. Fortunately, the rescue team I'd called beforehand arrived quickly. Even so, by the time they pulled us onto the speedboat, I was shaking uncontrollably from the cold. Veronica draped a thick blanket over me before she finally looked out at the dark water, her gaze searching for the other struggling figure. Leo had been unlucky. A large wave had thrown him dozens of yards away. By the time they fished him out, he was barely breathing. Back on shore, the man in the suit, who had never intended for anyone to actually die, saw the flashing police lights and cursed. Who called the cops? I shot him a look and snorted softly. Who do you think? I knew Leo was up to no good. You think I wouldn't come prepared? Having heard his conversations with the system, I knew enough of the plan to be ready. Before I even set foot on that yacht, I had a rescue team and the police on standby. No one was getting away. For some reason, Veronica looked at me, the corner of her mouth twitching as if she wanted to smile, but she held it back. She stared at the unconscious form of Leo being loaded into an ambulance, her expression unreadable. She turned to her assistant, who had rushed to the scene. Get him the best medical care. It would be unfortunate if he died. She paused. But he doesn't need to live too well. Leo didn't die, of course. But his already frail body, soaked for so long in the icy ocean, was left with irreversible damage. His and the suit's little scheme was, at best, kidnapping and extortion. At worst, it was attempted murder. With the Sterling family pressing charges, neither of them stood a chance. They each got 5 years. Veronica took me to visit Leo in the prison infirmary. I didn't understand why, but I followed her silently. Through the thick security glass, Leo looked like a skeleton. He was still convinced Veronica was there to save him. Ronnie, he croaked, tears in his eyes. Why did it take you so long? I was in so much pain. Ronnie, it was all Ethan's idea. He manipulated me. This was all his trap. He threw me under the bus without a second thought, certain they would believe him and that I couldn't defend myself. Veronica just looked at him and laughed, a cold, empty sound. It's over, Leo. The act is getting old. His face went white. He frantically screamed at his system in his mind. System, Veronica's affinity is at 80. Why is she treating me like this? She should be madly in love with me by now. The system's voice glitched, almost becoming static. The host's injuries had a severe impact on its functionality. System, diagnostics running. Diagnostics failed. Current affinity with target Veronica Sterling, 80-80. What happened? How could her affinity drop so drastically? It's not supposed to. From 80 to -80? That's impossible. Was his system actually broken? Leo began to sob and rave, refusing to believe the data, screaming Veronica's name. She was his only hope of getting out. But Veronica ignored his breakdown. "It seems," she said coolly, "that your so-called system isn't as omniscient as you thought. It can't even see through a simple act, can it?" Leo and I stared at her with the exact same expression of ghostly shock. I knew about his system because I was reborn and could hear his thoughts. How did she know? But the source of our shock had no intention of explaining. She just looked at Leo with cold pity. "You want out of here?" "Well, as it happens, Juliana's lab just entered a partnership with a national research facility. They're studying the human brain. I'm sure a man with a system in his head would make a fascinating research subject." And with that, no amount of screaming or begging to stay in prison could save him. They strapped a device to his head, wrapped him up like a mummy, and shipped him off to the lab. I was forced to move back into the Sterling estate. Without Leo, it was as if my sisters had woken from trance. They competed to be kind to me, to make up for what they'd done. But I could no longer feel any sense of belonging in that house. Jules was busy with the lab, but would bring back updates on Leo whenever she came home. "We thought the system was just some abstract concept, but we actually found it," she said one evening, her voice low and conspiratorial. "Guess where it was?" "Where?" Chloe asked immediately. Juliana tapped her own temple. "In his brain? We thought the shadow on his brain scan was a tumor. Turns out it's a cluster of data, something far beyond our current ability to decrypt." She smiled grimly. "Once we crack it, creating our own systems won't be a problem." As for Leo, Jules said he was essentially gone. His body couldn't handle the intensity of the experiments, and it started to break down. The lab discarded it, keeping only his brain alive to preserve the system within. Later, Veronica told me everything. She said she had started remembering her past life shortly after I'd moved out to the dorms. She, like me, was reborn. She had learned about the system from my inner monologue. Fearing what other tricks he might pull, she decided to play along, to beat him at his own game and trap him and his system once and for all. At the end of her story, she looked at me, standing there with my suitcase, my passport in hand. Her voice was hoarse. "Ethan, do you really have to go abroad?" I stopped just before the security gate, turned to her, and gave a firm, deliberate nod. It didn't matter that Leo was punished this time. It didn't matter that my sisters had finally woken up. The suffering I endured was real, a scar on my soul that could never be erased. I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't force myself to pretend nothing had happened and go back to being the carefree, Sterling heir. Instead, I would go abroad, study, and finally pursue my dream of becoming an artist. As for their punishment, waking up from Leo's deception, truly understanding the gravity of what they had done, that was its own kind of prison. They had to live with the knowledge that their little brother, the true Sterling heir, had already died at their own hands. "I have to leave." Hearing my voice, Veronica froze. Ever since I realized my words were not for convincing others, not for defending myself, but for me alone, my voice had slowly started to return. But I had never spoken a word to them until now. This was the first. I walked through the security check, toward the wide blue sky and a brighter, better future. I didn't look back. The moment I decided to leave, I'd already left them behind for good. Goodbye.